Hey everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Two Tamers Talk. Justin, I had to have you on for this one because it's time.
Yeah, we're gonna rip into our favorite card game.
We have had enough.
Yeah,
No more.
Some of these cards, they've had it good for too long.
For those of you who don't know, on an old episode, on a recent Two Tamers Talk podcast, every Friday at 8 a.m., thank you so much for watching, I made an offhanded comment saying that I think more cards should be on the banned and restricted list. We were talking about Ukomon. It's kind of the hot topic these days.
Yeah.
And I randomly said, if you want my version of the banned and restricted list, let us know.
Well, you also said it would unironically be like a lot of cards.
I said 80.
Yeah, and then we're like, I saw that video. Great podcast, by the way. And it was like, 80? I mean, I kind of get it. But at the same time, 80 is a lot. And then we talked about it.
And then we looked at the card list.
And, like,
and it was like, oh, maybe it's actually more than 80. So anyway, welcome to Basil's Banlist Bonanza, Justin.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Jacob on the channel for coming up with the name. So what we're going to do, Justin, is first review our banned and restricted list.
Yep.
So we have one card at 0, Mega Digimon Fusion.
Yeah.
This is because of Susanomon,
Yep.
And I guess to some extent Lilithmon. And it's our only card at 0. And the thing I want to say very briefly about cards at 0 is why do you put a card at 0?
Right.
And in my mind, it's that seeing one of them is extremely detrimental to your opponent.
Yes.
And so that's sort of the rationale I see for it, which makes me kind of question why some of the cards at 1 are at 1.
Yeah. So a lot of them are not going to be at 1 anymore.
A lot of them are not going to be at 1
Some
anymore.
of them at 4 are not going to be at 1.
This is true. Next, before we talk about our one-ofs in the game, we do have a prohibited pair.
Yes.
We have Sayo and Co. with promo Zubamon, BT13 Keenan, Structure Deck Matt.
Yeah.
If you have Sayo and Co., can't have the other ones in. This is an interesting way to balance the game.
Yes.
Because obviously restricting Sayo and Co. would be ridiculous. Because
Zubamon is ridiculous.
restricting Zubamon is ridiculous. And so that is a good way to go about it. We will have one instance of prohibited pairs that we'll talk about a little bit later. And then our cards at 1. There are currently 25 cards on the banned and restricted list at 1. Bukamon with jamming, Apocalypmon secret rare, Gabumon and Garurumon X antibody from EX5, Anubismon from EX5.
Yeah, good.
Structured X6 Gabumon, BT2 Gabumon, BT13 Geogray, EX4 Mott Galgamon, BT7 Eismon Scatter Mode, BT7 Eismon not Scatter Mode, Blossomon from BT3, Impmon from EX2, Promo Wergarurumon and Grand Kuagamon, Greymon X BT11, Calling from Darkness BT7, Sunrise Buster BT9, Doru Greymon BT7, Shoutmon ×4, Jet Sylphimon, Reinforcing Memory Boost, Ice Wall, Argomon BT2, Hidden Potential Discovered, and that's the list.
And before we go any further, I want to ask, why do you think these cards are limited to 1?
They're limited to 1 because in the time of their format, they were destroying other people.
Yeah.
Bandai's sort of banned and restricted list philosophy is such that if it is overperforming, we should restrict it.
Yeah, tune it down a little bit.
They are very reactive. They will wait until something hits critical mass and then restrict it. For example, Japanese players had to play in the Apocalypmon and Anubismon format
For a very long time.
for a very long time.
Longer than us, so, you know.
Way longer than us. So that is our banned and restricted list as it stands, time of recording. There hasn't been an announcement yet for anything to be restricted or not. And so that's what we're working with.
And as you can see, we have a big problem, is that there's not 80 cards on this banned and restricted list. So let's fix that.
So welcome, Justin. We will start with the simple stuff. cards that are at 1 currently, and I believe should be at 0. We've got 8 cards. Anubismon should be at 0. The reason that Anubismon should be at 0 is not only if you see it in opening hand, it's an insta keep, and you probably are going to win that game. The second reason is if it's insecurity and gets trashed, you can get it back. You can get it back through the Labramon. You can get it back through other effect, Glaive Memory Boost, other things like that. Calling. So if you see it once, you see it multiple times, and if you see it once, you win the game.
Yeah, quite strong.
Anubismon goes to 0. Calling from Darkness goes to 0. Calling from Darkness is a purple card that a lot of purple decks you will see don't play it.
Which is weird.
Which is weird, because why aren't we playing Calling from Darkness?
So,
Calling from Darkness is a 1-cost draw 2.
Yes. Well, also, it's a conditional. You can delete your own things, which purple has a lot of.
Purple has a lot of on-deletion
effects. It lets you see cards that you play one of them in your deck because it's restricted, or because you only need to see one, and then you reuse its effect over and over again. So cards like Ruin Mode, grab back your Death X, grab back your Boss Monster, grab back any piece in a line that you've missed. It's really strong card.
Calling is one of the most versatile cards in the game.
Yeah.
And it is way too strong, and it enables purple way too simply. For 1 memory, Justin.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
And it just dodges
You'd play it if it cost 2.
Yeah. It just dodges so much criticism because that's not the card that wins you the game. It's the other stuff.
Right. But it grabs back the problematic stuff.
But anyways.
3. A controversial card, BT7 Dorogreymon goes to 0 in my list. The reason being is Alphamon in its current iteration is basically not an OTK deck. You can have OTK lines with multiple Yugis and multiple Orumons, as well as Final Zubagon Punch.
Yeah.
But if you don't have exactly that, it's basically a black control deck, which I think is the right way for that deck to be. However, if you draw your 1 of Dorogreymon, you are once again an OTK deck.
Yep.
And so it's one of those cards that if it's at 1 versus if it's at 4, only changes the amount that you see it. But if you do have a % chance to see it, then you have a % chance to turn into the deck that was restricted in the first place.
Yeah, and most OTK decks can't even compare to how much protection, high roll potential, memory gain that deck gained. So I'm down to keep it at 0.
Yeah, OTK deck with immunity from DP minus, deletion, bounce, bottom deck, etc.
Yeah.
And with the new Alphamon protection from Chaos Degrade effects.
And it could already have done that with Congo back then.
Yeah,
so,
that is too strong. Another example of the same with Dorogreymon is Cross 4. I believe Cross 4 should be at 0. As someone who very much enjoys Crossheart and plays it quite a bit, the games where you see Cross 4 are vastly different from the games you don't see Cross 4. And so in the days where Cross 4 was at 4, it didn't necessarily mean that you went Cross 4 into Cross 4. You could go Cross 4 into Cross 5 with 1 Taiki. So seeing that Cross 4 is extremely detrimental. And so it goes to 0.
And then it gets respawned by Merva and you draw 2 cards again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You know how that goes.
The sort of free square on this list is Hidden Potential Discovered, going from 1 to 0.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this hasn't happened in real life yet. Hidden Potential Discovered has 2 problems. The first is that it makes Bandai scared to print green level 6s that cost less than 5. Because they still have the brain of, Hidden Potential Discovered, evolve for 0. So that is the first problem. The second problem is when you see HPD in a game versus when you don't see HPD is the biggest swing of any card on the banned and restricted list right now. Because the best example right now is go into Bloom for 0 and gain 4.
Yeah,
so that is a plus 4 Evo into Omega.
Or go into Heavy Leo.
Heavy Leo for 0 is disgusting. Quartzmon for 1 is an abomination.
Just think of any strong green boss monsters in the future.
Yeah.
I mean,
HPD is completely ridiculous and must go to
later.
0. Next, Promo Wear Garurumon goes to 0. The games where Melga sees this is the same as the rationale for Dora Gray and Cross 4.
Yeah.
When you see it, you swing with it, you unsuspend, you go into X antibody, you do 2 checks, you go into your Melga, do 2 more checks, and then the game, and then Melga X for game.
Yeah.
It's way too simple of an OTK line, and goes on the banned and restricted list at 0. 2 more cards. The first is Reinforcing Memory Boost. It is too strong in the decks that it's strong in, namely Security Control. It's putting an 8-cost option into security. It's
Drawing
too
you a
ridiculous.
card.
Draws a card off your egg.
And then it's the biggest memory bank you can never see. Right?
And then it's +3 memory. So its effect is simply way too strong.
I mean, if you are going to play Holy Wave for 6 or Magna Ninja for 7, you might as well play Reinforcing for 6. Right?
It sets up too many good plays. As well as yellow is coming into its own as a color in recent sets. And this card is going to become a huge problem as yellow improves as a deck. Especially with all the cards that say when trashed do effect.
Yes, because controlling what's on top
so you can control what's on top and then trash it is a little bit too strong. The last card on I believe is at 1 and should be at 0 is actually the Bukamon Egg. And the rationale behind it is simply it encourages I believe degenerate deck building.
I was gonna say the same thing.
It is. We have seen a lot of lists with egg splits that are
ridiculous,
completely insane. We even joked about playing 2 eggs.
Yeah, and it's not even bad
because it's a higher chance of seeing the Bukamon. And how many times is Mirage really going to that 3rd egg? Not so often. I just think that it is something that is better off left in the past.
Yeah, and before we move on, one overlapping thing with all these cards is if you see them, the games are ridiculous. Like genuinely ridiculous. And like it's fine to have high roll lines in games, but when the high roll lines are like, I drew it, oh, that sucks. Like genuinely, that sucks in a card game.
Yes.
So we'd rather have those cards, even if they do deserve to stay. We'd rather have them away from the game where they're not causing like big problems in how the game is played.
I agree.
And or how decks are built. So
that's exactly right. Now, this is where we're going to get controversial, Justin.
Yep.
These are cards that are currently at 4.
Yeah.
And we are going to put them at 0. 7 cards on this list, Justin.
How did we get 7? Wow, we hate this game.
The first 2 are going to make the viewers at home extremely happy.
You guys can call this one out. We'll give you 2 seconds. All right, you get them? It's
Death X-Mon and Shine Greymon Ruin Mode.
Perfect.
So for those of you who have not bought them and comment on our deck profiles, what's a good replacement for these cards? In my ideal world, there's no replacement needed.
Yeah.
Because they're not in the game.
Perfect.
These cards are too strong. Let's talk about Death X first. Any purple-black level 7 Digimon that can go in any deck in the game is clearly too strong. It hasn't dodged criticism, but it's dodged the ban hammer from Bandai. I think strictly because of how well X Record sold, and how sort of defining this card is.
Yeah.
But if you ever look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, you would play an option that did its ability for 8.
Yes.
It's called DG Dimension. Yeah. And not only that, it's better than DG Dimension.
Would you like to play for 5?
Because it digivolves the entire board. Yeah. DG Dimension digivolves 3 Digimon, 1 step.
Yeah.
And then if your level 4 costs more than 6, it doesn't die. Death X does not care about that.
Also, Death X gets played for 5,
Death
2, and 0.
Death X also gets played for less than 8, as well as it lands a 15k beat stick that has a static effect that kills Digimon if you don't deal with it.
So I want to point out that in my Ultimate Cup deck, the Magnamon deck, I played 4 Zudamons, an Amphimon Ace, and Zulong Ace because it's a Cocytus Breath that spit out a body, and that's all it did. And then it overflowed 4.
Yes.
So Death X is missing the text. Overflow 5.
Yes, true.
It has an extra effect of you have to play around it or spot remove it.
Yeah.
So,
and it's 15K.
and it's massive.
And it's huge.
So it's a security bomb too.
This card is completely ridiculous. How is it not banned yet?
Somehow even more
The
ridiculous.
second card is Shine Greymon Ruin Mode. It goes on the top end of every yellow and purple deck in the format. It's also another option for Shine Greymon Tribal. But this card says your opponent doesn't get a turn for 2 turns. And if you have ever played this game, think about turns where it's your turn, your opponent passed you to 2, and you're going for it's your first turn, you're going second. You draw for turn, you evo a rookie, and you have 2 memory, and your hand is megas and level 5s, so you pass.
Sucks.
Think of how bad that turn is. Shine Greymon Ruin Mode says do that twice.
Yes.
It is completely absurd. If you do not out it on the turn it is evoed into, you lose another turn. And in that time, they can set up to go into a second one.
Yes. And it's vaccine.
And it is a vaccine, so searchable by all of its yellow effects.
And we're not even talking about all of the effects yet. So if you have a tamer, you get another hatching phase.
Another breeding phase.
So if you were to bank up enough memory, like Millith, for example, you swing with the Ruin Mode, and you have an Alice on the board, so you hatch another egg, and you set up to do it again. If you're a deck that does the blanket, and he clears the board or whatever, and your inherits are live again, that's quite strong. So that means you can cheat more memory. So cards like Ignite Mon, Blue Marimon, Ogremon, those cards that have memory gain are quite abusable. And the thing is you can't stop the memory gain because you can't play a Floodgate.
Yes.
If Floodgate dies, you can't search, you can't raise your rookie. You can't even raise some level 4s, which is ridiculous.
Yep.
And sometimes you raise your level 5 and it's a 6K body. And it's like, okay, well then what?
My 1K, my 3K Mega, great.
And lastly, it kills any
something.
Digimon when it swings and dies.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous card. It has too much on it. It costs 5 when it should cost 10, I guess. So yeah, put it on the ban list and never have to make anyone pay $75 for a copy.
Our next card on the list that's going to 0. This is another free square.
Yeah.
This is Promo Ukomon.
And well, I guess
we'll talk about the other ones later. Promo Ukomon. If you haven't heard, this card hatches an egg when it leaves the breeding area and gains a memory. So for some reason, this card says get a BT1 Mimi effect and gain a memory for 0.
For 0.
So it's just way too much value. We've talked about Ukomon enough.
Yeah, everyone knows.
Nothing else to say. It's just too strong. Our next 3 cards are cards that I do not think are necessarily too strong. I think they are poor design philosophy. The first is Omnimon's Zwart Defeat to 0. I think that this card is, like I said, I don't think that this card is too strong.
Not at all.
I think it is a very poorly designed card. In decks that have really strong draw engines, you can put 4 of this in your deck and have a % chance to win the game on the spot. For example, we've seen it most recently abused in the Numemon deck.
Yes.
It puts in 4 copies of Zwart Defeat. It's pitch fodder for all of your on deletion and
Demi-Mare, trash level 5 or higher, draw 2.
And pitch effects. And then if it's insecurity, you land a 13K beater that has an on deletion effect of deleted Digimon with no restriction.
It's quite strong.
There should not be a security Digimon that has 13K with a good on deletion.
Yes.
So I think that this card should go to 0. The second, you mentioned it briefly, is BT15 Demi-Marimon. I think it is antithetical to game design to print an egg that says draw 2. Eggs have a condition that you draw 1 card, gain 1 memory, gain 1K all turns, or 2K on your turn.
Sometimes get a keyword.
Sometimes get a keyword, but obviously that has been problematic.
Pokemon, see you later.
Pokemon, see you later. But I think a draw 2 egg is not the way, and I think nipping that in the bud is the correct way for this game to go.
If you want to print a draw 2 egg, make the condition way, way, way worse.
Yes.
But anyways.
And then the last card that I believe is poor game design is BT9 X Antibody, the original X Antibody option. It's a card that is completely overstated. And when X Antibody came into its own as an archetype, this option was only really usable in Melga and Wargrey.
Yep.
And it wasn't even that good in Wargrey. So in Metal Garurumon, obviously, you unsuspend and attack many, many times.
Yes.
So that is where the X Antibody option shines.
Not once per turn.
In other X Antibody decks, it didn't make sense to use this option. Didn't feel good in Grandis ever. Didn't feel that good in Gallantmon. It was okay in Greymon when you swung with Metal Greymon and go into War Greymon X, but it wasn't that good. And then on top of that, it changed Blue's entire archetype for many formats.
Yeah, I mean,
it moved away from stripping from the bottom, as well as it gains 1 memory when hit out of security. It just has too much going on one card, and I do not think it is the correct way for the X Antibody archetype to go.
Shoutouts to Protoform. I think that card is awesome. Sometimes.
So those 3 cards I put to 0 for game design reasons. And we have one more card on the list, and I do not think a lot of people will be expecting this, but it's from Starter Deck 16, Lament of Friendship.
Yeah.
The reason that we have this on the list is we have a very sneaking suspicion that this card will break the game at some point in the future.
Yeah.
It says grab back a Digimon.
We kind of already saw it at the Nats format, where a security control player was expecting to play against a lot of Anubis players and go to deck out a lot. And while that is fine, the idea is he would play Avenged Kidmon to recycle options. He would grab the Avenged Kidmon with Lament of Friendship. And then he would play X Record to kill his own Avenged Kid to put both the cards back in trash. And then you Lament of Friendship, grab it back, and then
loop it back.
And then you can go on for infinite turns. So theoretically, if you're a security control player and you have won your game 1, your next game would be to go infinite and just
to go to
stall
time.
out.
Yep.
Which is pretty bad.
It's degenerate. It's a degenerate game style that could happen in this format with the cards we have now, but given enough time, will almost be a certainty.
Yeah. So let's get it out of the way now and, future-proof some of these cards.
15 cards at 0, Justin. Currently, we have 1 card at 0. Now we have 15. Before we get into cards that I want to put to 1, we're going to take another bold stance here, Justin.
Yeah.
We're going to take Mega Digimon Fusion and put it at 1.
Why not?
Prohibited pair with Susanomon. If you play Mega Digimon Fusion, you cannot play Susanomon. So the reason for this is, think about level 7s in the game. That is your end board. That is what you want the board to be at the end of the game. If it dies, you're in trouble. Susanomon ends the game.
Yes.
Ruin mode ends the game and has an on-deletion. Ruin mode is gone. Susanoo is now restricted with Mega Digimon Fusion.
So what are the level 7s left?
So now you can go into a level 7, but it's going to die. And people are like, well, what about burst modes? You already go into burst modes for 0 with the burst mode effect. Well, what about Omnimon's Wort? I don't think it's too strong to have 1 Mega Digimon Fusion. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And now, Justin, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of Basil's ban list. Cards that are currently at 4 that I believe should be at 1. Justin, we have 48 cards.
Okay, so we need to speedrun this, or this
we
video is going to be...
need to speedrun this.
So we'll go through a batch of them and then quickly talk?
Yes, we'll start with the eggs.
Sure.
2 eggs on the list. That's BT3 Demimera and BT14 Koromon. We need to talk about eggs that are way too easy to meet their condition.
Yes.
So BT3 Demimera is on deletion, draw 1, trash 1.
The entire purple archetype does that.
But the bigger problem with this card is that it encourages the style of swing with reckless abandon, which I think is inherently unhealthy. Think about playing versus a purple deck where they swing with something that wants to die.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't die, the purple player goes, "Oh darn,
I have jamming.
my thing has jamming." But what they don't understand is that is something that needs to be dealt with by your opponent, or else it's going to continuously chip away at your security.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't playing cards that bottom deck or bounce, this is just free damage that you're eventually going to have to swing over anyway.
Yes.
And you lost a security and you lost 1 point of damage. I don't think that's the way for a draw egg. And then Coralmon is simply too strong. You promote a rookie and swing with it and draw a card. It leads to sort of aggressive and degenerate red decks. I think that's not the way. We'll get into rookies. Another 2 copies. BT14 SR Patamon and BT4 On Deletion Commandramon.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first we'll talk about Patamon. This card is too strong as they are continuously printing level 4s that cost 4 to Evo. So basically, not only does it skip that 4 to Evo cost, but it also gains 1 on top of that.
Yeah, that card's really good. I mean, it's every Bloom deck. If you've ever seen a Bloom deck go Mimi and an SR Palmon, you don't want to raise. That really, really sucks.
No, Patamon.
Oh,
the
Patamon.
Vaccine.
That one is worse.
Yes,
that one
yes.
is super worse.
It's way too strong. As well as the sort of what am I trying to say? Scrambles we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So let's say we promote we promote a Patamon, go into Angemon, use Angemon effect, tuck it. The Patamon goes into the trash. Then you play Scramble.
Oh,
Scramble plays out the Patamon on the next turn, and then you get the free effect back into Angemon again.
Start of main.
And you just redo it. So I think Patamon has got to go. And the reason is, as we get through this list, you're going to see a lot of cards are restricted. And so some things would become too strong if they were not hit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why we see the Commandramon on the list. I think that this card is too strong for Commandramons because at the time of BT4, there was only a few Commandramons. But now there are level 4 Commandramons with the high Commandramon.
There's Searcher Commandramons.
There's Searcher Commandramons that give protection, as well as it's the same rationale for the Demimera. It has, I swung with my 1K and it lived. Oh, it's invincible. But it's just going to be a constant source of pressure that you will eventually have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move into level 4s, a little bit of a longer list. We'll jump into Raremon Promo, Security Attack Greymon, Structured X6 Garurumon, BT12 Shoutmon King Mode, and BT15 Numemon X Antibody.
Mm-hmm.
So, very quickly, Promo Raremon is way too strong.
It's too generic.
Pitch one, draw 2 on a level 4 that is black and red with a strong inheritable. Sets up into level 5s too simply.
Black and red? Black and purple?
Black and purple, what am I saying? And it sets up into some specific strategies too generically. It can go in too many decks. Got to put it at 1. Structured Deck Greymon, another card that has been restricted by way of cards getting restricted on my list.
Yeah.
We needed to hit Greymon in some way, and it's kind of a hard deck to restrict because it's already so toolboxy. But generic Security Attack on a level 4 is simply too strong. Structured Deck Garurumon, I don't know why this card hasn't been restricted.
Yeah.
For the same logic of the Structured Deck Gabumon. It's when attacking trigger is not once per turn. In the purple Garurumon deck, it just draws too many cards and gets you through your deck too quickly. Shoutmon King Mode at 1. We had to hit Hunters in some way. So this is how we're hitting it.
Yeah,
if you open Rookie, Digicross the King Mode, play a Tigeru, your game is completely accelerated, and it's way too strong, so we had to hit it there. And then Numemon X, for obvious reasons, this card goes to 1. I can't. Have you ever read this card?
Play level 6 for free, gain 2 memory, is sticky, impossible to kill, recycles itself.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Absurd card.
Yeah.
Jumping into level 5s, we're going to do this in 2 sections, Justin. The first section is going to be BT7 Savior Huck, BT7 Aldemon, BT11 Blue Marimon, BT14 Hellugarmon, BT15 Manzemon X Antibody, BT15 Waru Seedramon, and BT8 Chimeramon. So these cards are simply too strong.
Yeah.
BT7 Savior Huck was on the banned and restricted list and should not have come off, especially in a format like mine where so many cards are getting restricted.
Yeah, we need to slow the game down just a tad.
We need to slow it down a little bit. Blue Marimon from BT11 is a complete sleeper card. It is draw 2, trash 2, which in purple is basically draw 4, because you put 2 cards where they need to be in the trash, as well as the memory gain inherit is completely ridiculous.
It's all turns too, by the way.
It is all turns, and we're playing Digimon by effects on our opponent's turn a lot in purple these days, so that's got to go. BT14 Hellugarmon is another level 5 that you play for 7 and it wins you the game.
Yeah.
It can delete a Mega from nothing.
It's a massive tempo swing card.
As well as it's playing a level 5 that doesn't kill your hand size because it draws 2 when it dies.
Yes, and adds a Lugamon back from trash.
So even if you pitch the 3 to kill a Mega, you played this, pitched 3, that's 4 cards out of your hand, 3 cards back into your hand, and you kill the Mega. Manzemon X Antibody.
Do we need an explanation?
Nothing else to say. It spits out a Digimon. A level 5 that deals with a level 6. What's going on here? Waru Seedramon is, I think, the correct way to hit Leviamon.
I don't think you should hit Biting Crush, maybe. I don't think you should hit the Levy cards.
Yeah,
for what it's worth.
Leviamon. I think this is the right way to do it. In games where you go into Waru Seedramon, swing, play a Digimon, go into the Leviamon. You have a level 5 and a level 6 at the same time,
and it nuked their entire board.
And then the other reason that this card is on the banned and restricted list is eventually someone is going to optimize Dimension Scissors, Waru Seedramon, Infinite Loop, and it's going to be a problem. No one has figured it out yet, but it will happen eventually. And BT8 Chimeramon. It is a card that has some niche abuse cases that I think will continue as we get more colors in the 2-color slot of the game. For example, the Imperial set in BT16 is coming up, and I do think that there's going to be some Chimeramon abuse cases, as well as the Black War Greymon OTK deck, I think is already a good example of this.
Yeah.
As well as it gains air quotes rush because it's a new Digimon and a jog rest.
And it reuses all the level 4's inherits, which is quite good. So
it's quite good. Our second section in the level 5 slot, Justin, is ace cards. So Zudomon Ace,
Gone.
Magna Angemon Ace, Angewomon Ace, and Lilymon Ace. These cards simply play for 4 and have on plays. I think antithetical to the Ace archetype, which is counter Blast Digivolution on top of your level 4. Most often these cards are hard played, and they're utilized in a stronger way in that sense. Anyone who has ever played a blue mirror match where you both have Zudomon, it's a complete clown fiesta.
Zudomon, you're Zudomon.
Zudomon, you're Zudomon.
Overfill 3.
You're into a level 6 from 1 memory. Is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
As well as we're starting to see yellow decks forego level 5s that do not say ace at the end of them.
Yeah.
They're playing 4 Magna Angemon and 4 Angewomon.
And those cards
Ace.
are so good.
There's just no reason to play a level 5 that doesn't have a 4-cost on play, really strong on play effect, as well as then the optional counter timing.
And they're big.
And they're 8K beaters for some reason. And then one card. Did we mention BT7 Aldemon?
We didn't. We didn't talk about it yet.
No security options on something that swings 4 checks at 24,000.
And Evils for 1 on a card that has Hybrid in its trade, so you can turbo into your you get the
whoops.
Point. Oh, it's also like 15,000 even if you just swing with the Aldemon.
Yeah.
So
not allowed. We're into the megas, Justin. We have 3 level 6 megas. BT12 Emperor Greymon,
This red deck.
BT11 Mirage Gaugamon, and BT9 Metal Garurumon X Antibody. I lied. We have 4. BT10 Venusmon. So, in order, Emperor Greymon is completely ridiculous. It's so strong that there is no reason to play the old Emperor Greymon.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, we get it. Power
You
creep
do
exists.
power creep, but the problem being is it's almost always swinging 3 checks, as well as in a world where you have BT12 Takuya and BT7 Takuya, you're always threatening at least 3. You're always threatening lethal from at least 3 security,
which is ridiculous.
which is completely ridiculous. From no board but 2 tamers. It's a little bit too strong, so we hit it to 1.
It has the strongest clapback for a boss monster. Kill something. If you delete it, I get 5 tamers and something else, which is,
Yeah.
you know.
BT11 Mirage Gaugamon. This is one of the strongest floodgate effects in the game. If you do what your deck does, which every deck draws cards, lose the game.
Yep. Your turn is going to pass.
You have to be able to out it in a way that doesn't draw cards, which is not so simple.
It's not so easy. Or you have to do the really, really weird strategy of emptying your hand, which some decks just can't do.
Yeah.
So, see ya.
Yeah. And it also is another card that makes it foolish to play the BT13 Mirage Gaugamon, which is another. It's a card that is more aligned with how blue should be. Evade, bounce tamers, play Thomases. Mirage Gaugamon BT11 is simply too strong. BT9 Metal Garurumon X Antibody. The Metal Garurumon deck doesn't even take a second glance at EX5 Metal Garurumon.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy because of how strong that card is. But in the Metal Garurumon archetype, it has consistently looked towards swing 6 times in one game. Metal Garurumon X Antibody is a key part of that. And we want to take that deck a little bit away from that and move it a little bit more towards set up a blocker, set up, the super ice wall effect, set up some stun Digimon, whatever the case may be.
And it also is like one of the best removals in the game. Indiscriminate, bounce all of the lowest levels, and the deck already has a way to delete 3s and 4s, or 3s and then lowest level. So it has a really easy time bouncing your boss monster for nothing. So it's quite good.
And our last card is BT10 Venusmon. It's another one of the strongest floodgates effects in the game. And not only that, if it's suspended, you can't out it because it says you can't swing at it this turn.
Yeah.
It's another one of those cards that says your opponent can't play the game this turn.
Much like Ruin Mode.
And it's a little bit too strong. We'll jump into the excuse me. We've got one more level 6 that I want to mention here, and that is LM Quantumon. For those of you who have not played this card or have not even seen this card really, go give it another read.
It's quite good.
It is recover 1 and trash one of your opponent's security and see what's in there,
or chaos degrade one of their Digimon,
or chaos degrade their boss monster,
and then we have
take a kill spell out.
Yeah, take a kill spell out, and then I'm immune to whatever.
And then I'm
is on
immune
top of
to
your deck.
effects. It's a completely.
If you thought Magnamon was good, I mean, this is quite good too.
It's a completely ridiculous card. We're going to jump into the level 7s. The first, or we'll just list all 3 of them real quick, and that is Ragnalordmon from the Structure deck, Shine Greymon Burst Mode, and Quartzmon from BT12. So, Structure deck Ragnalordmon, near and dear to my heart.
Ouch.
I love Ragnalordmon. Unfortunately, Ragnalordmon is not played in Legend Arms.
Yeah, he's DNAing with a machine. He's DNAing with some dragons.
He's DNAing with War Greymon, and Dobrik. It's another card that, when played as intended, it's a cool boss monster. And when abused, it's an OTK enabler. Trash 3 blitz for game. Shine Greymon Burst Mode. The strategy in the Burst Mode decks is at the cost of a tamer, gain a level 7 for free.
For the
Shine
turn,
Greymon Burst Mode says play a tamer, Justin.
So what's the point?
What is the point of bursting if we just play it back and give it rush? Horrible. I can't believe they let this card through. And Quartzmon, a ridiculous floodgate effect that if you are playing a certain deck, cough, cough, Ulforce, lose the game on the spot. It is playable for 15 in some matchups, and you win the game.
Which is ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
And its Evo is not even that expensive.
It's evolves for air quotes 6.
More like for 1.
But in actuality, it's probably at most 3.
Yeah.
Really strong card. We are going to finish up with Digimon by talking about Digimon that are Digimon, but in reality, they're options.
Yes.
The first is BT7 Nidhoggmon. The second is BT11 Mervamon. And the third is Beelzemon from EX2. Nidhoggmon says, when you're doing purple stuff, gain a memory while you're at it.
Yeah, just awesome, man.
Just gain a memory for doing what you had to do anyway.
Yep.
This card is people. I can't believe people don't play this card more. BT11 Mervamon. It's basically Kaiser Nail on steroids, or not Kaiser Nail. What's Nailbone? It's Nailbone on steroids. When you would play an option, you might as well just play Mervamon and land some retail blockers while you're at it.
Yeah, get some on plays.
Get some on plays, gain some memory. It's completely ridiculous.
And on the rare case, when you have 8 memory,
win the game.
Win the game. All your things have rush.
Yeah. And then Beelzemon from EX2, when you're milling, gain effect. It's too much advantage for doing what you already want to do anyway. And so we are putting it to 1. Into the options. Purple players, if you didn't like me already, you won't like me after this. Starting with the free square, Basil fans know what the first 4 are. Blinding Ray, Gravity Crush, Jack Raid, and Hammer Spark. 0 cost memory options are a plague on this game and will be abused from now until the end of time. So they've got to go to 0.
They ruin the system of the game.
The next 2 are cards.
0 or 1?
To 1.
Okay.
They're only abusable in cases where you have a ton of them in the deck.
Yeah.
Because you go from 1, go to 9, win the game that turn. The next 2 are cards that I don't think a lot of people will expect, but it is Fireball and Hero of the Skies. 2 mana, 2 memory, draw 2, sets up for decks that are do nothing,
die.
Win the game.
Yeah.
These are your Dorbricks, your War Greymon OTKs, etc., etc. Specifically, red having access to 8 copies of Pot of Greed, as they say, is too strong. The next yellow cards that we have to hit: Revelation of Light and Emissary of Hope. Another card that people are just now starting to catch on to.
That are good.
If you thought HPD was bad, what about go into Venusmon for 1 and then recover?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
What if you stack your security like your deck already does? And you just have a 3, 4, 5, and 6 that you can all
copy that. And then Revelation of Light, similar rationale to the Ruin Mode effect. It says your opponent doesn't get to play for the turn that Revelation of Light is activated, as well as it's not just activated when your opponent swings into it, it's activated when you trash it, which is what the entire BT15 line does.
And then cheating a level 4 to put a better card in your security is quite good. So you'd make that trade any day. It's a really, really strong card.
Purple options.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, purple players.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, right? Your options are far and away the best in the game. Mist Memory Boost, Glaive Memory Boost, Underworld's Call, and Pummel Whack.
To 1.
To 1. It is purple has the unique situation where they are able to play the most amount of memory boost cards, and they're the strongest memory boost cards. Everyone has access to color memory boost and color training.
Yep.
But purple has access to 2 more that are really strong. Mist Memory Boost gets card in the trash, which purple wants, delay gain 2 memory. Glaive Memory Boost gets card back from the trash, delay gain 2
my
memory.
Anubis is in the trash.
Yoink.
Yoink. That's
Go-
pretty
Grab
good.
exactly what I need. So that's too strong. Pummel Whack and Underworld's Call, same idea.
As
Pitch a
Nidhogg.
card, draw a card.
Yeah.
Same idea as that and the Nidhogg. That's it for the options. We've got some tamers. We'll start off with the obvious one, BT7 Tommy, back to 1. People haven't figured out blue hybrids yet, but they will. The next, some red tamers, BT7 Takuya. Again, red hybrid players, you've had it too good for too long. I don't know how you have escaped this wrath, but here you are. BT10 and BT12 Taiki Kudo. The rationale being in the hunter strategy, if you open Taiki, you cycle through your deck way too
Your
quickly.
win rate is so high. When you see
And in
Taiki.
Crossheart, you have the 3-cost Taiki, which makes the 4-cost trio Digicross Tamer wholly irrelevant.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty sad. And so I think going in this direction will help slow those decks down. One last tamer on the list, and that is purple BT4 Kari. The 3-cost security leaves your security stack, gain a memory. It's a little bit too strong for security control in this format, as well as the tribal Kari sort of vaccine deck is even utilizing it. A little bit too strong. And Justin, there's one last option in the deck, or one last option to restrict. And I don't know how to feel about it. It's Crimson Blaze.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Crimson Blaze is so interesting because people are splashing red in all kinds of different decks just to get access to the only floodgate option in the game.
Yep.
It's incredibly strong, and it makes some matchups red automatically wins them just because they're the only color that has access to Crimson Blaze.
And it's not like you can remove it like other floodgates. So like some decks, they have inbuilt ways to deal with things.
Affect floodgates.
Affect floodgates, right? 'Cause
The
that's what their
Pomu,
deck
the
does.
Pillow, and the Gotsu.
But sometimes landing a Crimson Blaze on a properly timed turn completely turns off your deck. And you can't do anything about it.
That's true.
And yes, it costs 6, but sometimes it costs 2.
Sometimes you play Crimson Blaze for 6 and kill nothing, and it wins you the game.
And sometimes you play it for 2 and wins you the game.
Sometimes it plays for 2 and wipes the entire board. So, Justin, 49 cards from 4 to 1.
Yeah. We're not done yet, somehow.
We're not done yet because I think something that Bandai has refused to acknowledge is they can semi-limit cards.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh does it. You can do it too, Bandai.
So the rest of the list is cards that are currently at 4 and I believe should be at 2. And the reason that I believe that is it opens up a little bit more creative deck building. Some cards you just see like, yep, that's your 4 of.
Yes.
And then there's no room for other megas in your deck. So here we go with the cards from 4 should be to 2. Starting with some rookies. That is Gabumon X Antibody BT9, Agumon X Antibody BT9, and Dorumon BT7. So, the X Antibody rookies, they're way too good. They search exactly what you need, which is more of your line. If any of you have ever played War Greymon or any Greymon or a Melga deck of any kind, BT5 Agu or Greymon, Agu or Gabumon into Agumon or Gabumon X Antibody is effectively dig 7 for the piece that you need. It's a 3 memory search 7, which is a little bit too strong, so we knock those down a peg to 2.
Yep.
And Dorumon BT7 is a card that is
so flexible.
Is extremely flexible, especially with the added support of Mind Link Tamers.
Yeah.
Which for some reason Black has the most of.
Yeah.
So Black Mind Link Tamer's a little bit too strong, as well as Alphamon can cycle through these cards extremely easily and gain back a bunch of memory and have huge advantages that way. Into the level 4s. Justin, these are controversial.
I don't remember half of them we put on. This list is long.
BT14 Togemon.
Yep, down.
BT13 Omekamon. Tortomon in the Gacha strategy. Structure Deck 9 Stingmon. Garurumon X and Greymon X. So let's take it from the top. Togemon is a 3K vegetation that I immediately was like, oh, perfect. A new level 4 in bloom. But the reality is it says Green Tamer.
Yes.
This card is too universal, as well as its Digivolution, or its inherited, reduces Digivolution if a Green Tamer not into a plant or vegetation or fairy. It's generic.
Yes.
It's too generically splashable and needs to be taken down a peg. BT13 Omekamon is an interesting card because we've talked a lot about on deletion effects and jamming and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Oh, my Omekamon didn't die. If you are not a bounce or bottom deck card, you're going to be swinging over this.
And it sucks.
And it sucks because you activate their abilities, and it just
and
feels
if it lives
horrible.
for multiple turns and you let it live for
you
multiple
just get
turns,
beaten down.
And then the Royal Knights suddenly don't even need Omnimon. And
Yes.
it just coming in.
You can just kill them that way.
And then you die because this Omekamon got 3 checks in and you couldn't deal with it.
Yes. Tortomon at 2 is something that a lot of people will
like,
not
"What?"
understand. But the reason is going into Megas for free is something that we have identified as a problem. This is HPD, this is Emissary of Hope, etc., etc. So going into Heavy Leomon 4-0 is now not a flip 3 and maybe we'll get it. It's a, if it's in my hand, evolve into it 4-0.
Yeah.
Level 6s in green are getting too strong for that to be serviceable. Next, we've got Stingmon from Structure Deck 9.
Just draws too many
And
cards.
the reason that this is on the list is because it's one of those cards that even from Structure Deck 9 has not been power crept.
Yes. We're on Structure Deck 16 now with like 5 or 6
17 and
news.
18 are on the way. This card is too strong. They have never printed a Stingmon to replace it. And so knocking it down to 2 keeps Imperial Dramon in line. Then Garurumon X and Garurumon X and Greymon X BT9. It's too much protection on these decks. Evolving for 0, cycling another card, activating your level 4 inheritables is too strong, putting them to 2. Now, we're getting into the level 5s, Justin. And this was another one that I really wanted to keep certain decks in line and make them play in a different way.
You guys have to remember that this is as a result of banning / restricting some cards. Some decks are going to get really strong. So, here's the result of that.
The result of that is Arrested Dramon Superior Mode, Astamon from BT13, and Metal Greymon from BT10, the Blue Flare. So, Arrested Dramon Superior Mode turns hunters from a Digicross deck to an Arrested Dramon Superior Mode deck. There's no reason to play Omni Shout. There's no reason to play that Astamon. There's no reason to play the deck in any other way other than Arrested Dramon Superior Mode because it has the single strongest form of removal in the game, which is put a Digimon under a Tamer. It's incredibly strong. And then swing twice, sometimes 2 checks, sometimes jamming, sometimes draw a million cards. It's too strong. Then Astamon BT13. This is a card that is a resultive ban. Belphemon had not been touched nearly enough as a result of this. And rather than hitting the sleep mode or the rage mode, hitting the best enabler for the deck, I think is the right way to go. And then BT10 Metal Greymon. Blue Flare, another deck that is untouched in this list effectively. So make them play the suboptimal Metal Greymon at a higher quantity. No one puts in EX4 Metal Greymon thinking, yeah, this is the one I want to see. It is simply the other Metal Greymon.
Yeah, and also, like, getting punished raising and getting punished for having 2 bodies on the board. It's fine. It's a way to play around it. But in this format, this deck can get out of hand pretty quickly, I feel. So put it to 2. See how that goes.
Into the Megas, Justin. Quite a list here. Bloom Lordmon from BT10. Heavy Leomon from EX5, Chaos Dramon from EX3, Jessmon from the Structure deck, Slayer Dramon from EX3, and Ulforce V Dramon from BT11. These are, again, very resultive bans.
Yep.
If left unchecked, these decks would be absolutely bonkers. The only card on this list that is not in that category is EX3 Slayer Dramon. EX3 Slayer Dramon is what turns Examon into a deck that is, if you're playing in a certain matchup, if you give your opponent 10 to set up your boss monster, you still win the game.
Yes.
So this is put a Examon down with a Slayer Dramon either in sources or on the field, sometimes in sources and on the field.
Which is quite good.
If they are a deck that builds out of the raising, lose the game instantly. Or if they are a deck that plays 2 Digimon, lose the game instantly. The other cards on this list are self-explanatory. They would be too strong in a format that is so limited, as well as it opens up different lines for other cards. So if you're playing a Leomon deck, put in the Bancho Leomon. If you're playing a Vegetation deck, put in Hydramon and Rosemon. If you're playing Jessmon, play Genkumon and Genkumon X Antibody, etc. If you're playing Ulforce, play the worst Ulforces. One level 7 on the list, Justin. It's Fanglongmon from EX5. The Deva's deck has reached an interesting point where it's no longer a Deva's deck. It is Fanglongmon Turbo.
Yeah, get there as fast as possible.
Once you're into Fanglongmon, your opponent can no longer play the game because they will get minus 16 every turn. The true identity of the Four Sovereigns deck should be built around those cards.
Yeah,
and
play
it should
at
be
level 5 and then say, come attack me and deal with it. It's a very cool dynamic. Fanglongmon is Ruin Mode, minus 16k to your board, kill everything. You're on deletes that play stuff, who cares, it dies. And then, okay, they get another raising phase and they raise another boss monster, dies to Fanglongmon again. So, you know, not super interactive. And like you were saying, it's Fanglong Turbo. It's not
Deva's.
Not Deva's.
2 more Digimon on the list. One has a level, kind of, and one does not. The first does not have a level. Gatekeeper from EX2. It is sort of along the same lines as the Omnimon Zwart defeat. It has a % chance that you swing with your Searcher Rookie just to get 1 chip damage in, and a 10k beater that recovers 1 lands on the board. And on top of that, it will eventually apply a blanket security attack -1. If you are playing some purple decks and some blue decks, you automatically fold to this card. So Gatekeeper goes to 2. And the last one that we're putting to 2 is Mega Gargomon Ace. So this card is another card that is on the list of your opponent doesn't get to play the game for a turn. Because they cannot evolve their Digimon, they can't suspend their tamers, etc. As well as it is the only ace that when it overflows, you are still net positive on the memory because you go on top of your Rapidmon 4/5, and then you overflow 4. But if you counter, you save the 5, overflow the 4, you're still net positive on that exchange, which I think is not how aces should be. Justin, we're into Tamers, and there's a few here at 2. The first is BT3 Mimi, the purple one. The second is BT12 Marcus Damon, the Punch Marcus. BT14 TK, the Vaccine Tamer. BT12 Tai, the Blocker, Black Tai. The Searcher Davis, the Memory Setting Davis. And the Rena, the good Rena from BT11. All of these cards are... again, resultive bans. They would simply be too strong in a world of this ban list.
Here's the thing is we've probably missed so many cards that need to go to 2. So
let us know in the comments.
Let us know what
I haven't missed a single card, Justin. BT12 Marcus is the only one that stands out. If you're into 2 or 3 of these Marcuses and you're at enough memory to make them all Digimon, or even using that BT13 Agumon, you're into a Mega while doing damage.
Yes.
And
you don't even care if they die.
And you don't care if they die. a little bit too strong. The other tamers are just a result of the format and them being a little bit too strong. One last tamer that I forgot to mention, because if you've ever made a Google document with bullet points, once you run to 26, the 27th is instead of it goes XYZAA. So I forgot to mention BT11 Analog Man. BT11 Analog Man goes to 2. It's an automatic 4 of in Machine Dramon, and it cycles through your deck, making no room for other tamers. So there's no room to play the structure deck tie. There's no room to play cards like Kazu or other things like
Marvin
that.
Jackson.
Or Marvin Jackson. So putting that to 2 opens up the deck a little bit and makes some decks that automatically lose to Machine Dramon lose a little less automatically.
Because, you know, they don't have 5 blockers on a turn. And yeah.
We've got some options to finish off our list. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, I'm so sorry to purple players.
Goodbye.
But I'm not really that sorry. You know what I'm saying? Biting Crush.
Oh, my bad.
7th Lightning, Rivals Barrage, and Chaos Degrade all go to 2. The strength of the Leviathan deck is that it can very simply get away with playing 8 kill spells.
Yep. A lot of decks play 7 to 8. So
7 to 8. Same reason for Rivals Barrage. It's 2 universal. It goes in every purple deck that mills, most notably, obviously, Beelzemon, but you're even starting to see it in other builds. For example, the Beel Star is playing it because it costs 7. And it kills Digimon.
Millith,
a Mill Loop is playing it. It's a little bit too strong. And then Chaos Degrade, nothing more to say. It's the strongest removal in the game, and it trashes security on its way out. The last card on the list at 2 is Purge of the Royal Knights. Another resultive ban. There's not a really good way to restrict the Royal Knights deck.
I wanted to put Yggdrasil to 2. I really did.
The egg to 2 is a little bit,
did.
because now we're playing megas for 8 every turn.
Perfect. Awesome.
So the way that we hit it is the Omekamon and the Purge of the Royal Knights.
Should slow it down a bit.
It just slows it down enough because we didn't want to hit the Omnimon. And then hitting the Royal Knights doesn't make sense because you only play 2 to 3 of them anyway. So this is our way to do it, is to hit the auxiliary cards. So Justin, at the end of the day, 32 cards at 2, 49 cards at 1, and 15 cards at 0.
So what is that, 96?
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
If you've made it this far into the video, first of all, thank you so much for watching. This has been a little bit of a dive into the minds of Basil and Justin and how we sort of view the game.
I think.
We love this game, but in our perfect world, it would look a little bit differently.
In our perfect world, turns out you need to ban a lot of other stuff because some things will just get too strong. And we definitely missed something, so hop in the comments.
So what I was going to say is, if you've made it this far, please join the Digital Gate Studios Discord. There will be a channel, or there's channels galore. Talk about this video and say what I missed, what we missed, what we should have done, and why did you restrict this card? And let us know if you want to play some games in this format. I'll have some decks put together in this format, and we can see if it's as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
But maybe it's actually a really fun way to play the game, and creative deck building is rewarded. In any case, thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you all in the next one.